Hello, friends.
Epistolary novel. Sorry, I had to say it before. Somebody...
Proud of you.
In before the cut.
I remember the mental notes I made while I was reading the book. I mean, Grot, you know what? Same. Me too.
I'm just going from memory.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of me. That's where I'm here. Chat, can y'all hear everybody? You should be able to hear me.
Hello, Camdog.
But I'm just
Open
sure
the stream chat so I can see what's happening. Hey, there's Grot. That's all I see is Grot now. I don't see Chemdog yet.
Yeah, I got Camdog, Grat, and Motu.
eating garlic cheese
For some reason,
tortellini.
it should be telling me I logged in and not logged into Twitch on my... Well, that's because it's my work desktop and I don't log into Twitch there.
Okay,
God.
you can hear everybody. Sweet. So Discord. OBS has a new feature where they let you capture application audio by itself, which is so lovely. Because now I don't have to grab just my desktop audio. I can just grab specifically Discord audio.
Yay!
Nice. Very nice. You know what else is nice? The fact that we all get to hang out together and discuss a very interesting book. How's everybody in chat doing? Y'all all right? Okay, and y'all tell me also in chat, did you read this book? Have you?
How long ago did you read this book?
Was this a recent? Or, and also, while y'all are typing that up, chat, I want to see everybody's copy, because I think we all have different versions, different iterations.
Bam!
This is mine.
You spoiled things.
I have 2 copies.
Oh,
One that I
overachiever.
bought specifically for this, like in a used bookstore over the course leading up to it, about a week before we were supposed to originally do it. And this one that I've had probably since 1981.
That's adorable.
Which has Franklin Jella just being all Franklin Jella-y. And
it's a verb. Don't worry.
yep, this is the whole point.
Oh, Moti read it in 9th grade, so very recently.
Well, you might have 2 copies of it, Solar, but mine has 3 books in it.
Boom. Okay.
Mine's got Dracula, Lair of the White Worm, and Dracula's Guest.
Which is the prequel.
Yeah, so Knight's got 3 books per book, and you're doing a half a book per book.
I mean,
exactly. It's like putting powdered. It's like putting milk in powdered milk. You get more milk per milk.
I don't know what to say to that.
Well, you wouldn't know because you've got bags.
Oh, well, okay. I have to say, Canadian bag milk is interesting, and I wouldn't be offended.
Can we call it what it is? It's milk sacks.
It's milk sacks. It's a true story.
And as milk sacks go, and I know that milk sacks are popular around the... No, sorry. They're Canadian. They're very Canadian. There are other countries that do it, but they're very Canadian, and they're fucktastically awesome. They're awesome. Let's be honest. I do recommend... Yeah, they are... At no point are you just going to cut the bottom corner off and hold it over your mouth. Really.
I mean, at least in Australia, with our goon bags, we put wine in it rather than milk.
It's also more environmentally friendly, apparently, than
that would not shock me.
That's what I had heard.
Yeah, but doesn't it create more carcinogens?
Hello, Littlefoot.
Or screw up the milk a bit more? Like, I think that was one of the things we came down, or a study they had that changing from glass
milk
milk
to join as a conversation about milk.
Yeah.
Changing from glass milk bottles to the plastic milk bottles lets more UV or something through, and it ruins the milk quicker.
Plastic bags don't have that effect.
Can I tell you what would make everything better?
Milk Dracula?
If we all drank almond milk. Sorry. That's
no, that would kill me.
No, that ruins the environment.
No, please no.
If you are someone who cannot drink regular milk without having it causing you to feel unpleasant, absolutely, almond milk.
Oh no,
oat milk.
Almond milk is good for you. It totally screws up the environment though, due to the amount of water that's needed to grow.
Oh, that is true.
To grow almonds, and then essentially you're putting the nuts just in more water.
Yeah.
So you're drinking nut water?
Yeah, it's the
Yes.
best. Nut juice
juice.
is the best.
Nut juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried oat milk?
I have. It's pretty good. I like rice milk too. Like I pretty much like most non-dairy based milks. But anyway, sorry. This is a really weird tangent.
And that very much reminds me of Dracula.
And that totally
Rat
reminds me
milk
of
needs to
Dracula.
be a thing.
Because
So,
if
are we
they
just gonna-
had a blood substitute, maybe we wouldn't have as much issue as we had in the book. Bram.
I mean, isn't that what the movie Morbius is all about?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm scared to watch it. I think that'll be a bad movie night, you know.
I don't think it's even worth it.
Strawberry quick. Boom. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're talking about Dracula. Those of you, if you're joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Emily. And Jeremy, aka Sola, is kind of our resident literary professor, like in that he's actually a professor.
He professes to be
He
one, at least.
professes to be
Yeah, professor.
a professor. JD, aka Booyah, is my brother from a mother another. Hold on.
You got it right. It's fine.
I'm just gonna
That
go
one
with it.
kid.
I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
with
killing
it.
a
That's
kid.
the one we. That's the one we
Great. I'm doing great.
Got it.
New takes.
For those of you who don't know, I just drank entirely too much terrible soda on a YouTube live that we had about an hour ago. So my brain is being affected poorly. That's what I'm gonna say.
Impacted in some way, shape, or form.
In some
Impacted.
way, yeah. And of course, Bradley, aka Bratley, aka Knight. We're just happy to have y'all all back. Sola, I'm just gonna kind of let you lead it off because.
Wait, I didn't read
I'm
it.
lazy.
I knighted this. I just totally knighted it. I just
didn't.
no, it's. I
Dracula.
don't think that's true.
Can make
Dracula. Okay, so what do you want to start with? Let's start with talking about the novel. Do you want to start talking about the differences between the novel and the movie? Because I know you want to talk about both. Do you want to talk about the differences between the novel and the original movies, or the novel and the 1992 Dracula, which is really an interesting twist?
I haven't seen those.
Can I just start with a couple of quick
Yar.
word-related stats for this particular?
Please give me them
No.
stats.
All right, so we got the word shock 40 times.
Oh,
The phrase injury to the brain, the one time. Anguish, 4 times. Suffer, 32 times. Brain fever, the phrase 5 different times. And trauma, 0 times. But the word voluptuous. I'm curious as to what you think the number of times voluptuous is used in this book.
A significant number?
40.
Out of the 161,774 words, how many of them were
14 times
Okay.
that the word voluptuous gets used in this
Listen.
book.
It's a
That's way
voluptuous
less than I would have thought.
Yeah.
It feels like more.
Let's be honest, voluptuous as a word right there. Like it could be voluptuary, it could be there are so many things we can talk about with regards to Dracula. We can talk about food, for instance. Let's talk about the fact that in the first chapter, when Harker is coming to Transylvania and he experiences spice for the first fucking time, he is
They
given
don't boil all of their food. What is this?
one of the meals that he first eats in the little inn is like a chicken paprikash. And this is
They literally
actual
use paprika.
real
Oh my god, what is this?
real paprika, not North American paprika.
Is this
This
salt?
is the thing that's actually spicy and would have done damage to him. He talks about how it impacted his stomach, and yet he still took down the recipe for Mina.
I mean, you guys.
Question here, so how much would real paprika have cost in the UK back then, given that the spice routes and stuff were still a thing, and there wasn't so much being grown in the UK?
I don't know how much it costs today, so.
11.
11. I like that. 11 mini. 11
Give or
mini.
take.
I mean, it's not much, but like a friend of mine bought
take
me
a
back
voluptuous.
some smoked paprika from Spain, and like just the difference in price between that and buying like Aussie paprika.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a situation where someone's taking down a recipe for something where just a minuscule ingredient that gives it the flavor would have cost almost probably a week's wages.
A la saffron right now.
Yeah, exactly. Over, and like the rest of the meal would have cost almost nothing, like chicken, lamb, mutton, whatever they had there, he would have used.
Yeah, but
it's
all good.
It's an interesting thing about.
Got a promotion.
I guess there was a coupon.
Well, it's like, even if you consider how
You're
compact
100% right.
Europe is.
It's still
Like it would have been. It's weird to take down a recipe for something using ingredients that you probably almost couldn't get.
Sometimes I think you do that for the novelty, and I almost imagine that was what he did, just to bring something back to me. And he couldn't bring
He
the
wrote it
actual
down for me
dish.
to look at and never use.
I guess it could also be along the lines of the stereotypical British like British complacency. The niceness of the British of it's like, cool. Let me take that recipe down and like just to show appreciation for the food.
Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna shift real quick.
He's taking notes to see if England should invade or not.
With kind of on the track of going to the castle, I had a question about the blue flame.
Yep.
Was that ever say that again?
Which was also used in the film.
It was, but it was not used in the same regard.
Was anything used in the same regard in the film?
Fair enough. But so like all right, in the book, if my understanding and my recollection is correct, there were blue flames to signify places where treasure was hidden or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I will posit this. In the movie, they put the blue flames in front of the Portcullis Castle area situation. So would it be fair to say that in the movie, the real treasure was the vampires we made along the way?
Like, yeah, obviously.
Don't forget.
Were any vampires actually? Okay, so yeah, there were a couple of vampires made, not as many as in a few, but
yeah, it's just
So we meet a few. We do. We meet at least four?
At
Five?
least five.
Five.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do we actually
Five
make
and a
any?
half.
Do we
only
make
one?
We make one.
Yeah,
Yes.
we make one.
Yes.
We don't make
That's
any.
right.
Technically,
we're using the royal we, much like the royal y'all.
a good count. At least one. But yeah, going
Emily
back
saw
to
Dracula as the
St.
hero
George-
and identifies with
Yes.
Dracula. Therefore,
Yep.
we made the
According to the legend of the area on St. George's Eve, these flames will light up and illuminate. That's why the driver stops everywhere, because Dracula's stopping to get money.
Yeah.
Basically showing where somebody has thrown. But yeah.
It's supposed to be a spooky mood setting thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that was my main question. I was like, because that confused me in the book a lot. Like, I went back and reread that portion a couple of times because I was like, did I miss something? Because this seems not with, like, tying into any other, like, Dracula myths that I knew of. So I was, like, very confused about it. So, mood
not a
setting.
Dracula myth.
Gotcha. Just the concubine.
It's just fun.
It's just fun. You just don't look into it. It's fun.
That whole stretch, that first stretch where you're in Jonathan Harker's journal, is
It's an epistolary
fantastically
novel.
engrossing and mood setting. And for me, in the reading experience, it's that stretch, and then you kind of pull back, and then it kind of like takes a while before you're like back into that pace. I know there's a lot of character building, and you have to. There's the what's it called? Epistemic regime, where different characters know a certain amount of stuff compared to other characters.
Oh.
Some characters know more than others. And
What even better?
some of it is frustrating to a point where it's just like to the point in the book where it's like, Somebody just read his journal, please.
Yeah.
Like, he has it with him. Just somebody read it.
Well-
And there's so many points where it's just like, well, it could just bring too much of a shock. They might just suddenly die of too much shock if they read this. And it's just like,
I'm like,
we just read
Mina's
it. We didn't die of a shock
compiling this.
reading this book.
When Mina starts compiling it and things start, yeah.
Mina is the true hero.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I know I threw this into our, I can't remember if it was private conversation or just book club conversation with regards to this. I mean, so much of this novel, it's a techno thriller, and on top of everything else, I mean, it's
At the time,
talking about things that are 5 years away from actually being real.
Mhm.
Like the typewriter that Mina is using didn't exist.
Well, they had
when-
only just done like transfusions for the first time recently,
They
right?
hadn't
Mhm.
actually.
Oh,
They had
Yeah, they discovered blood type
Transfusion.
like a year or two after.
Exactly. So the technology that they're using to save people's lives are basically just like, doesn't matter. His blood is healthy. It's all good.
look at him.
He's-
He's a strong,
he's
strapping
pure.
Blood is
boy.
better because he loves her.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
young blood.
Oh man.
Just pump it on in there. I'm sure she'll be
Strong
fine.
young blood.
I'm
Yarn
hung
and
up
blood.
on the, I'm still hung up on the blue flame thing, and it's basically partially Stoker, partially Catholic mythology and Eastern European
Mr.
mythology.
Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox. And even though he says it's May 5th, that's St. George's Day, not St. George's Eve, which would have been May the 4th. But hey, whatever.
You know what? Pack
Maybe
it
it's
up.
the evening
We're
on
done.
St. George's
That's-
Day.
Maybe it's
whatever.
time zones.
That's the
No, no.
inconsistency I can't deal with. I'm throwing this book away.
That's it.
I'm done.
Set it on fire.
Too
But
many saint day inaccuracies.
Shame.
Could not read.
Shame.
in religious mythology, basically, it is a day where evil spells can be broken.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's a thing.
if I had known that, mayhaps that would have been more intriguing.
Oh, they didn't cover that in your public school education.
It didn't. It didn't. Not in my Mississippi public school education. It did not. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if the fact
Unfortunately,
that it's Mississippi makes it more or less likely.
I
So-
broke something.
Oh.
No, don't worry about it.
I have another
Hopefully this
question.
doesn't happen.
just
Monkeys.
Scooting forward a little bit.
Okay.
So, were they
Sex.
were they Romany?
Romani, yes.
Yes, technically, but they were a Zagani.
Okay. Why did they work for him? Were they just scared of him? He ate their baby.
do you have any proof of that?
I mean, his, Harker's journal.
Well, he ate somebody's baby,
He
not
ate
necessarily
that.
theirs.
That's
Yeah.
fair enough.
Exactly.
I believe he
um,
posited that it was one of the babies.
Also,
from the,
quick note from a geography standpoint. Currently, Transylvania is in Romania. At the time that it's written, it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, right, adjacent to Hungary. So when he references the Magyar throughout the early parts of the book, that's probably the biggest Hungarian heritage tradition set of languages in that area. Fun little geography.
I like
fact.
that tidbit.
Yeah, that's a point I'm going to make in a little bit, right?
And interestingly enough, I'm going to tie. Just go ahead. Go ahead, Knight. Continue. Sorry.
Well,
You can do it right
sadly, Emily made me show my copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula,
I'm so sorry.
so I didn't get to play fun and give everyone my excuse for this month, and then be like, I fucking love this book and this movie, because this is the copy I bought pretty much the day after watching the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula back in '92. So this one's been with me for 30 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
And yeah, I love this book. I, however, didn't realize that there were other vampire stories before this one.
I neither.
But with reading this, there's a couple of things I love about this book. Is the writing style, as Grat said, that it felt surprisingly modern. And when I think about, I complained about Pratchett and the waffling and stuff like that. But if I look at this, if I look at Byron, if I look at Mary Shelley, I love those books. And to me, they just feel like they were written now rather than so far back. When you think of writing back in that period, all flowery and prosy and stuff, or even like Samuel Taylor Coleridge with Kubla Khan and Rime of the Ancient Mariner, stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it feels modern. There's contractions used at times. There's not a lot of flowery exposition-y prose used when it can be truncated and just made more readable. I don't know whether that's due to the cost of printing and things and the printing technology they had back then, where they had to make things less wordy.
I think.
I mean, the books. All the books are still fairly long,
the
but
end of that era. It's like 1897 is when this came out. It's the very end of the Victorian era. This is part of that transition from.
And also,
that
like,
era to the modern era.
Yep.
What's the word? Y'all say it again. The style of this book is
Distillery.
that one.
Distillery.
I always thought that was a religion.
It's the epistles in the Bible are letters.
Or the ecclesiarchy, but hey.
Yeah,
But
I knew them words too. Communications degree, y'all. I think that maybe it had to do with that because these were essentially journal entries. So a lot of them were much more straightforward. Now, some of them, at moments they had very kind of like more flowery wording. But for the most part, I think it was like, I want to get this information down so that it's, a record of this incident. So not quite so much like, making it seem more romanticized necessarily than it is. It's just kind of like expressing what happened in the day. So
Yeah, but even Mary Shelley with Frankenstein is, to me, the same sort of thing, and it's not journally. It just seems like the writing style, and that would be a great movie for the channel at some stage. I can't remember the name of it though, but it's about the night that Byron, Percy, Mary Shelley, they were all in one castle, just getting high on opium and writing these things. It's a great movie.
And it really says a lot more about Mary Shelley that her writing is so much more modern, because Frankenstein was published early 19th century. That was, like 80 years before this book, and still sounds so modern. And it's so just straightforward storytelling, but with language that gets everything across so effectively. And it's really, it's a testament to her, really.
And that's why I don't understand why I've bounced off Pratchett and a little bit off Earthsea, is you would expect. But the other thing about the book that I really love, which for me, the movie didn't really capture, is the journal style. There wasn't enough you read through the book and you have Jonathan's journal, and then we cut to Van Helsing or Seward or Mina, and I don't think those cuts were as noticeable or as just, okay, we're jumping here. This person now has absolutely no knowledge of what's happened. We have all this knowledge, and the fact it cuts between all these journals, and the journals are still able to intertwine with each other to tell a story, and a compelling story.
Yeah, and some of that
when really they shouldn't be. They should be totally separate. And I was watching a reaction to something last night. I can't remember what movie it was, but the reactor pointed out that at the end, Saving Private Ryan, that the entire story is being told from Ryan's point of view.
I know the reaction that you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah,
jarring when
and-
it's not actually from his point of view at the end. Yeah.
No. At the end, like the entire story is told from Private Ryan's point of view, but he wasn't there for like the first.
See, that's what the way that those cuts work. That's what it seems to be pushing. But I never thought of it that way until somebody said, "Oh, it's all from his point of view."
Yeah.
I never thought of it
Yeah.
that way. I just thought it was a stylistic choice for the way that it was transitioned.
Which kind of explains also.
100% understand what you're saying in terms of the.
So
Yeah, like the journal parts of the book
The
to me
feel is
read. Yeah, it reads better in the book,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in that style than the movie itself. Where if you've read the book and then seen the movie, or seen the movie and then read the book,
the movie.
They-
I think that
like,
might be
they're totally
because there
And-
isn't the same feeling of that. I'm going to say the phrase again: epistemic regime,
Mhm.
as far as some characters knowing things that other characters don't know.
Yes.
And when you're
Yeah.
reading their journals and their entries, or the transcriptions of the audio journal for the doctor, speaking of technologies that were new for the time, you're in their head as far as, I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah.
These are all the things they're constantly telling you. I only know this.
Yeah.
So you don't get
Yeah.
that in a movie.
So
and I can't think of any off the.
I want to shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about sex, baby. Let's
Which
talk-
part of the sex, baby,
Yes.
do we want to talk about?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we want to talk
Let's
about
take it back
the queer
to the
baby?
beginning.
Do we want to talk about? Okay, take it back.
Let's talk about Mr. Stoker, Bram, Mr. Stoker, if you're nasty. Talk about his connection with another writer and how maybe potentially that had some bearing on this.
Wouldn't it be Mr. Stoker if you're nasty?
What'd I say? Oh,
You said Mr.
No,
Stoker.
I got you. I got there.
You were talking about the thing that I commented on about his letters
Ryan's
to
Private.
Walt Whitman,
Yes.
Shaving Privates Ryan, or Shaving Ryan's Privates.
Yeah,
Is
that one
what you
too.
were-
All
yeah,
of
yeah.
them. Yeah.
There is a lot of commentary about how, especially with some of the writing that he did later in life, the commentary he gave later in life with regards to Stoker. Earlier in his life, he, just so that we know, he grew up as a young man and was very sickly, and then became this hulking monster of a man.
Yeah.
He blossomed after being bedridden for
Big
his
burly
youth.
so-and-so.
Big burly so-and-so, and had a deep and abiding affection for Walt Whitman, and wrote several interesting letters to him, exploring his ideas about what might happen in their conversations. But later in life became very vehemently against public portrayals of homosexuality.
Oh, I thought you were going to say against fun, but you know, that's
Against-
just
I
a
mean-
shorter way of saying the same thing.
Potato, tomato, same thing. And there's a lot of subtext that you can see written into the novel. As a matter of fact, I don't know if anyone here watched the Moffat BBC version of Dracula that came out about 3 years ago. It's interesting. You'll either love it or hate it. But one of the twists is that it's very different from the novel, very different from any other cinematic portrayal thereof. But one thing that's sort of addressed, that is hinted at in Dracula, is Harker as Bride.
Okay. Very interesting. Like that. Now you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. Okay.
Yeah.
I can never get that quote straight. So
I can't either.
congratulations.
I just assume one of those.
I think you just did it. So good job.
Yeah, curiosity, then attention.
Okay, gotcha.
One gets piqued.
Yeah.
One gets peeked, the other one gets peeked at. I don't know.
So,
but he had relationships, not necessarily physical relationships, but interests with people that were his friends and mentors and possibly lovers. And those were like Walt Whitman, that he had an extensive exchange of.
And I would suggest anybody who
blood
hasn't read them or is not familiar with them, look them over. Like, give them a Google. Bram Stoker, Walt
Whitman. Yeah.
I mean, it'll come up. They're so interesting. Like,
I'll do that after this.
There's a reason why I gave them to. Do you know who his other kind of mentor friend was?
Oscar Wilde.
Oscar Wilde.
Yeah. So I mean, like.
Famously, Oscar Wilde.
But
yeah.
So that's kind of like a little bit of the background, I suppose.
So let's talk about the sexual imagery in Dracula a little bit. Kiss or kisses is used 42 times in the text, more so than voluptuous.
Oh, just barely? No.
Lips, 62 times. Voluptuous, 14 times, as we said.
For the record, I did also look up the old definition for voluptuous, because its meaning has changed in the last 100 years or so. It really originally just meant anything sensory.
Oh, okay.
So you could have, like,
you could be a
voluptuous song.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would be, the adjective would be voluptuary.
La.
You can be a noun as a voluptuary, somebody who is fascinated with voluptuousness.
Before we get too far into talking about the sex parts of this, though,
by the way,
of Dracula
movie,
I would just like to point out that I was brought up pretty much fundamentalist Catholic, and until about 3 days ago, I did not realize there was any queer subtext to Dracula or vampires in any way, shape, or form.
Like, never an inkling.
No.
Never like, wow.
No.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, that was, like, as I said, in the
new
scene where
will be an experience for you.
Yeah, Jessica.
So
vampires are almost always inherently sexual. Like,
I got the sexual bit, but I just didn't get any of the. Like, when I was looking at Dracula and Jonathan, for instance, I saw nothing between them. Like, when Sola was just saying there's a reading of Jonathan essentially being a bride, I would never have got that. But that is more because.
30 years ago,
1992. So I was 22 then, had just pretty much just left high school a couple of years ago. But yeah, fundamentalist Catholic type growing up, and homosexuality, bad, no such thing, go to hell. So yeah, that whole thing just did not even cross my mind while I was watching it. And so yeah, thinking about that now, it's like, oh yeah, obviously, because as I said, you watch Interview with a Vampire with Lestat, and I keep forgetting Brad Pitt's character's name, but that whole arm sucking.
It was Brad Pitt.
Louis. Yeah. That whole arm sucking scene where he turns him. It's like, well, yeah, that awakens stuff.
Oh, he turns it.
Yeah. He do.
So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we discuss the sexuality part of Dracula, because that impacts on my reading and understanding.
So that is really actually a very good segue. And Jessica, again, you bring up a really good point. Queer coding was very much like, we talked about this. Sola, go.
All right, let's talk about one line in particular. Do you remember the scene in the book where the brides have Jonathan and Dracula has to sweep in like the proud queen he is and say, "This man is mine."
See, the thing is, I remember that scene.
Belongs to me.
I remember that scene, but I mostly remember it from the movie with,
and
like,
even
with
the movie.
Yeah, but you also have three cities on there on screen at the time for a young boy or a young man who.
Well, there's also.
So
You keep saying the movie, and my brain keeps going to the 30s Dracula one. I was like, I don't remember there being.
We're referring to
that. We are going to talk
Francis
about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will talk before we even get to Coppola. I mean, there's a lot of times where Dracula, where Jonathan Harker in his journals comments on Dracula's lips. He comments on a couple of other things. He comments on,
and because it's epistolary, it's Jonathan's words.
Mhm.
It's not
a
author
Yeah.
just giving it as specific detail.
Mhm.
It's Jonathan specifically in a journal
Mm-hmm.
writing down the details of another man's lips.
Yeah.
there is just a lot, and it's really interesting that we're having this conversation. I've noticed that Jessica's Bell has commented on vampires are almost always sexual. We'll have that conversation because Dracula itself, he's not attractive in Dracula.
No,
He's
is
monstrous and hideous.
Which I want to really talk about the sort of very, very broad differences of the Francis Ford Coppola version of Dracula and the actual Bram Stoker's, because in the movie,
Yeah,
he's
like
kind of
young Gary Oldman.
yeah, personified as this like slightly you root for him in the sense you want him to be redeemed, and he's so handsome in his what is he, the prince or whatever. But there is nothing redeemable about the Dracula
he's a monster
in the book, and I love that.
He is.
It's yet still sexual. So it's that it's the seductive sexuality as opposed to the overpowering sexuality.
Yes. And overpowering sexuality is very much the Stoker Dracula.
Yes.
Even before we get there.
Okay, well wait.
I didn't mean to disrail you. I apologize. But you were talking about it's sexual, but still he is not attractive at all.
He's not attractive. Even the young version of the Count is like, when we get to what Dracula is, I mean, it's the character itself is like a whole bunch of different things. It's a representation of fear of
foreign Easterners
coming in and taking our stuff. It is very much about them coming in and taking our women too. Mm-hmm. It's very much about fear of the new woman as well. Because when you look at Lucy, who in the novel herself, she's kind of innocent and pure and pristine, but she's also the kind of woman who's like, why do I have to only be married to one man?
Yeah.
He actually says this.
I mean, how many women get proposed to by three guys in one day?
I mean, lucky. I only got
how many
two.
get that opportunity?
I mean, Jesus.
Versus,
right.
Like, let's talk about Sadie Frost. That girl was not innocent and pristine and virginal. She's handling Quincy's knife in public, his weapon.
Oh yeah, she is.
Yeah,
right there.
I mean, just scandalous and voluptuous. Okay, all right, there we go.
Scandalously.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one.
But, and again, there's the same thing. Even the issues that they have, there are things that are represented in Mina as well that basically become, oh my God, Modu, it is not a knife.
And yeah,
that's not a knife.
Yay, thank you, Knight.
I'd call it a Chazwalla.
I see you've played Knifey Spoony before.
Sorry, Sola.
It's okay. We're all there. I'm busy thinking about Jessica's Bell comment about like attractiveness has nothing to do with sexuality. You're absolutely fucking right.
On the nose.
But there are elements that, like, in the novel of Dracula being monstrous, monstrously bad, like demonstrably, no, you are the wrong you are the person who is wrong here. Especially when it, like I said, Dracula's main solution to problems: throw a wolf at it. It's literally, oh, can't get in that window of the one place where there are 2 girls out of all the girls in London that I could have, and I want that one. And it's protected. And there's somebody awake there keeping a wolf.
If all you have is a hammer, everything you see is a nail. If you can throw wolves at problems, you're gonna throw wolves at problems.
You're gonna do it.
Unless you're a little biggie.
Wolf to throw. Poor wolf. As I said before, the poor wolf did not want this.
You're gonna.
He's a zoo wolf. He's like, I'm a good boy, I swear. But
poor baby.
Yeah, poor puppers.
And now I scared this woman
to go home, so it was okay.
Yeah,
he was fine. Because all animals are babies.
This whole thing that we have, and like, this is the significant difference. Like, there's a lot, like, between Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the novel, and Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie. The one thing that completely changes everything is the addition of the love story.
Yeah.
And making Dracula a sympathetic character. He's not. He's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a proud monster.
Ironically, making it no longer Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ironically, making it no longer Bram Stoker's Dracula. But it's a problem. It's a thing. Because he has, like, the addition of the love story changes everything. And I will talk specifically to Booyah about this. That is the main difference between Dracula the novel and the 1930s Dracula. And this is why we have the Dracula as the romantic figure that we have in 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because he starts off as the monster, but then he becomes the handsome man seducing Mina. There's a seduction there, yes, or there's a forced seduction.
There isn't the element of, oh, you're a reincarnation of my love or anything.
Yeah.
But it is a handsome man playing the role.
It's a seduction. It's not an overpowering.
Right.
Okay. So
in the movie, yeah. In the book, it's an overpowering.
No, that's what I'm saying. The book is. There's no seduction. The 30s
there.
Movie, it's brute force.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, the 30s movie is based on the play that was written in 1924, produced again in 1927. It's a remake of that.
So,
and in the play, they cut out half the path.
Quickly wedge in there. So the play was only ever adapted because the movie Nosferatu was made, which was very close to the book, and the Stoker estate was like, hey, copyright claim, and they're like, well, it's out of date or whatever. It's in public domain, so you can't do that. So they had to come out with an adaptation from an official adaptation from the book to the play to be able to sell the rights to then make a movie. So that's why you have the play of Dracula adapted from the book. The play starred Bela Lugosi, and then when they went to make a movie, they were just like, why don't we just use the guy that's been playing Dracula in Broadway for the last few years?
He's got a handle.
Clearly got it down.
He had to fight for that, though.
His authentic accent is the reason we feel that accent as the Dracula accent, because it was just his accent.
Now I'm gonna. I'm.
You need to see that movie.
Now.
Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There also seems to be a very massive similarity there between Little Shop of Horrors and Dracula.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about that.
You've got the stage play, which has the down ending or like the aggressive love story, versus the movies where we have the happy endings and the real love story, which
and also
then also made
the
me think
actress.
and it also made me think of Dodgeball in that case, where the ending to Dodgeball was supposed to be that Average Joe's lost and White Goodman's team won, and the studio made them change it, which is why then you have that extra credit scene with Ben Stiller, isn't it?
Yeah.
During the credits.
Nobody makes me feel my own blood.
Norris.
Yeah, when Ben Stiller's going on the rant about how people can't handle a bad ending and stuff. That was him legit ranting about being forced to change the ending.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just went down that
No,
rabbit hole
I
in
didn't.
my
Well,
brain.
so that's
and-
the thing I didn't know. So there we go. So go ahead, Joel.
But I was basically just touching back to the 1927 theater version, which is the version that the 1931 Dracula is based on with Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi was in the 27 version. The 24 version was even more different. The 27 version cut half the cast, so there is no Mina. It's all Lucy. There is no Quincy Morris. I mean, pretty much there are two versions of Dracula that feature Quincy Morris. The quintessential
I was just saying,
American.
hold on, they cut the two best characters. What? Hot take.
They're gone.
Mina's
They
the
don't
best.
exist.
Mina's the best. Okay, she's
Yeah, but
she's the
they
hero.
basically took Mina and they basically took Mina's personality and all the stuff that she does and made it Lucy.
Oh,
They basically merged Lucy and Mina.
okay.
There's Jonathan Archer, there's Dr. Seward, there's Renfield. That's basically it.
Interesting.
Like, they got rid of Homewood as well in the 27 play. So,
Okay.
but this is also the one, and this is the thing that's weird. This is also the one that ended up being they basically redid it with Edward Gorey doing the set and all the stage design in the 1970s, 1979, and this version is the remake of the 1927 play that they remade for the 1930 version of Dracula, the 1930s version of Dracula, and it's the
You need a
same
whiteboard or
weird plot line.
Plan A.
Same
Oh,
half
no.
the characters are gone, same other stuff. Renfield's situation is slightly different. It's just interesting.
Very
And
interesting.
this is
Renfield
Pepe
gets
Silva.
treated like
This is
like Igor in the Frankenstein franchise, where it's like the name changes, the role changes. It's just whatever.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's a reason. The reason why we have that seductive version of Dracula is because of the 1927 play and the 1930s version of Dracula. Dracula in the book, not seductive, as you know, as you've read it, but we'll just tell it to the audience, some of whom have read it, some of whom haven't read it. Not
Just for
seductive.
for the record as well, Emily, given that you have seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's only respectful to Bela Lugosi to go back and see Dracula.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Considering that's
Yeah.
what they are
Yes.
cashing in on
Yes.
for just having him
Yeah.
for what time he could be in that movie.
I will,
mean-
to give him due.
For perfect
He almost
context
played
here, I
Frankenstein,
think
too, fun fact.
I could probably play the book Dracula.
Shut up. Oh my God, no.
With
Let me see your
effects.
palms.
I was
Let me
just
see
to
your palms.
say, what about those
Man.
palms? What do those look like? So I
You crawl face first down a castle wall, and then
and then we'll
see.
see. We'll run that.
I was
Audition.
purely talking about the unattractiveness.
Well, shut up. That's not. You shut your face.
Stupid.
So I want to. So we've been talking about kind of like the previous iterations and what made them that. Let's switch a little bit to movie comparison.
Okay.
I will say one thing up top. This is kind of a little bit of a segue, talking about.
Tom Waits is awesome. Okay.
It's good stuff.
That's true.
In the book, they eat that baby. Okay, they do. They eat that baby. In the movie, they also eat that baby.
The Sagani baby,
Yes.
just to take it back to the Sagani, who are
Yes.
not Romany.
Yes.
They are their own thing.
Yes. But here, I think that was a massive mistake on Coppola's part, because if you cast a character, or if you have a character that you are trying to set as slightly sympathetic, even the love story, even the
Yes.
his tortured past, whatever, you can do so many other things.
You can't come back from feeding
Then,
babies to
yeah,
vampires.
eating
You can't come back
a
from that.
child. That is an irredeemable thing. So
But that's the whole point of the monster. He is a monster.
In the
in
book.
the book.
But in the movie, Coppola's trying to create this tragic romance,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't come back from feeding babies.
that was to me a step too far. Like it
like
took
the one
any
thing they couldn't
suspension
have
of
done.
disbelief of that character being.
You might as well have
slightly
had Dracula
redeemable.
kick a puppy in the middle. Of the
Exactly.
movie.
I was like,
He did. He threw a wolf through a window.
so there, there we go.
It comes down to baby being the other white meat. But the thing is,
We do not condone baby eating on this channel. So
the thing is,
I
think you can
throw that one to
I
my
think you
Good
can
morning,
separate
see what
those
you say.
two from. I think you can separate the eating of a baby from the love story, because
That's not a sentence I expected to hear today.
well,
I
the thing
expect
is,
it here.
it comes back to what I was discussing earlier. With you have a set of circumstances and things that happen that other characters don't.
Sorry.
That other characters don't know about. So you can still be like, you can still have the love story from her point of view,
Yeah.
because he's playing a part and a role of not being the monster, being this dashing, aristocratic, attractive dude who's just falling in love.
Mhm.
Like, we know what he is, but the other
hear you.
characters don't, so you can still have that love story. We don't have to be on board with it.
Yeah.
We can be wanting that not to happen, which then makes pushing them together even more of a mindfuck for us, because we don't want it to happen, but we're still feeling something for it.
So I think that's
but if it's
where
a mindfuck, what feelings are you trying to portray?
So I think that's
Right.
where it stopped for me, because I was like, I could almost go along with this tortured soul through the eons or whatever, or centuries, whatever, and
The trope that a lot of vampires have become.
but that act to me completely took me out of any and yes, it's a movie, but you're also trying to get your audience in a certain headspace. And I think
But it's also-
that for me was just like, oh, God, no, absolutely not. This is not, I no longer even feel any semblance of, I feel bad for you. Like, it's just all, oh no,
Thank you,
you're
Little
just the
Foot, for your
worst, and I
protection
hate
for
you.
people, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but let's say take it to now. You have like Chapo or cartel leaders. They still have wives and families that love them, but we would consider them monsters for what they do to people with selling drugs, murdering, kidnapping, whatever. But they still have families that love them. So there is that real world thing where someone is a total monster, but they can still feel love.
You're 100% right. But if you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to get a message across, I think Emily is right in the sense of you're just muddling the story that you're trying to tell, and it's just unclear what the audience is supposed to get out of it.
Prior to Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula's discovery of the fact that Mina is, in essence, a physical replica of Elizabetta. It's Elizabetta? Is it Elizabetta?
sure, I believe you. I zoned out.
Prior to that, let's not forget that Dracula is a monster by choice.
Yes.
He had been a monster by design prior to his absolute fall from grace, because he needed to be a monster against his foes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Turks that were invading and coming in, so there was the impalings, the beheadings, the nailing hats to heads. If we go through all of Dracula's, like Vlad,
There are countless historical looks at Vlad.
and it's weird because even to this day, Vlad Tepes is often considered to be a hero to the people.
The people there, yeah.
Yeah. But that scene at the beginning where he basically turns his back on his faith that he fought through armies and seas of blood for.
He doesn't just turn his back on his faith, he stabs a crucifix.
Stabs it in the heart and drinks its pulsing blood to embrace.
Like everyone knows that crucifixes have. They have a
bestial
pulsing
animal thing in him.
100%
He is there
chosen.
Specifically, he has made the conscious decision to be the absolute fucking worst.
Question.
Right.
Monkeys.
Did we, maybe I'm just forgetting, I can be completely spacing on this, but did we ever get the origin of Dracula in the book?
No.
Which is
And
so great.
It's not even
I
supposed
love
to
that.
necessarily be a historical.
Yeah, it's not about
It's not
him.
supposed to
It's
It's
necessarily
just
about,
a title. Dracula is a title that he had heard and used.
yeah. So
It just means
And-
it just means the dragon in
Son of the dragon or son of the devil. Dracula is the dragon. Dracula, son of the
Mhm.
Miss Emily.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Solar.
Sorry.
Just something that occurred to me when we were with the discussion between the monster and the love story. Could that just be a Francis Ford Coppola thing? Because if you consider The Godfather
Okay, no
and
spoilers.
the
I
love
haven't
stories,
Oh,
seen that. Sorry. It's it is
I'll-
my job. Okay.
To avoid spoilers, I'll just say, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, could be. Yeah, could be.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's really hard for me to continue
Yeah.
anything right
Sorry.
now. That's,
I'm sorry.
In terms of that,
yeah.
those are basically making monsters more human versus Dracula, which has something totally inhuman.
He tries to get both.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to like pull or see one thing in another light, he seems to be going all in on monster and all in on.
I think that
Tragic romance.
is the takeaway of my earlier ramble commentary is that you
where
you
the
can't
other
have
end of
both.
that spectrum is going all in on tragic romance, and you
Exactly.
get Twilight.
Yeah. There we go.
Yes, and this we have like some of the stuff that is different from book to film to Francis Ford Coppola's film. There's a lot of stuff. I can't say it's the most accurate transfer. It's the most accurate interpretation. There was a BBC version done in the 70s that is apparently closer. I haven't watched it. I have downloaded it. No, I didn't. I just found a
He thought about downloading it.
You
non-pirated
wouldn't do that.
version thereof. But
He heard about where you could download it.
I heard about what I
download a car.
But
That's where you're wrong.
With a 3D printer, anything is possible.
Exactly.
It runs on wind.
I lost track of where I was going
Well,
with this.
I'm gonna
The 1970s and the adaptation, because that's the thing I have an issue with at times with book translations to movie translations, is when the director either doesn't get the book or tries to turn it from what it was. Like, if you love a book, a play, or whatever so much that you want to put your heart and soul and millions of dollars into making an adaptation of that book,
and hire your son.
fucking have it book. Like, don't change what makes the book. If your main character is a monster, they're a monster. Like, just deal with it.
So
But even by the end of, sorry about that, Emily. Go ahead.
well, so Jessica's Bell made a comment earlier that I really thought was kind of very appropriate. Francis Ford Coppola film was, I think, an opportunity for him to stretch his legs effects-wise. The story/moral took a little bit of a backseat. Very much so. The effects, most of the cast was great. God love him. Keanu.
I don't
why
know
not
if you
go
saw
say
Tried
it.
his best. He
Where-
tried his best.
tried his best.
Earlier this year, Francis Ford Coppola was like, the biggest problem we had is that he kept trying to have to be perfect, and it drove all of us to a point of he just, it was overwhelming for all of us.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being on a set directed by Stanley Kubrick starring Keanu?
Oh God. No.
Why would I want to wish that on anyone?
That's
I wouldn't want to wish that on anyone.
sounds rough,
No.
buddy. Pass.
And Jessica,
This is how you end up with Shelley Long coming out with an axe just to fuck up Francis Ford Coppola. Not Francis Ford Coppola, sorry, Stanley Kubrick.
and Shelley Duvall, not Shelley Long.
It's the man again. He's grown young, said the most wooden actor ever. Don, I agree with you, but it's not necessarily his fault. I can't blame him.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Especially given when it was in his career that he was brought into it. how he was brought into it. It could be.
Dude,
Let's talk about the character in the novel, though. Let's talk about the character in the novel. Jonathan Harker goes from being a little milquetoast to basically
PTSD.
force marching his way, kicking his ass through an entire army of Zgani bodily bodyguards, scaring people away while wielding a frickin' kukiri. Just, the man is a machine by the end. When you stop and think about the novelization, the way the characters are portrayed, Mina is a bad bitch.
Oh, Mina is
Jonathan
Mina's amazing.
Yes.
He is there. He is going to kill the world to save her.
Yeah.
If he can't save her, he's going down with her.
Yeah.
Mina is one of the book characters that gets the worst adaptations
100%.
across the board. And that's any adaptation of Dracula. I defy you to find one outside of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I like Sean Connery in that.
I love that movie.
That's the only one that has Mina as a badass. That's it.
Oh,
The
God.
comic or the film?
Either.
Okay.
Mina was done
Hold on,
dirty.
I have
in
yet to
movies.
be impressed.
Yep.
Mina's almost always done dirty in movies. Almost always.
You know who else?
I think that's kind of the big thing between the book and the movie, though, is that in the book you have Dracula. Like, if you don't know about Vlad, you have Dracula start off with the interactions with Jonathan, and he's nice, and he grows more and more into a monster, and Jonathan turns more and more into a machine, essentially, as you said. So you have that growth of good and evil for the battle of essentially Mina's soul.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the movie.
No.
And I think that's, apart from, I think if that had have happened, then even if you have the love story between Mina and Dracula happening, and then you have Jonathan come through and be like, this is what this man is. Like, he's not what he's protecting or presenting. And you have that growth of Jonathan as well, which I don't think is in the movie.
Stoker was he worked in a theater, right? He was like a theater manager or something along those lines. Yeah, so he had the sense of writing like scripts, or at least what script writing was like. So it's not like he wrote a book that could be adapted faithfully into an amazing movie, and there hasn't been a genuinely faithful adaptation of the book.
So you're saying Bram Stoker is Quentin Tarantino?
I'm gonna make a comment to Quindog. How's the Netflix Dracula series? You'll either love it or hate it. It's the one that has Harker as a bride, and it's not the same. But pardon?
Was that recent? Like in the last couple of years?
Last 3 years.
Okay. All right.
It's Moffat and Gaddis. So it's the people who basically redid Sherlock, redid Hyde. Their Hyde series is really good. I like Hyde.
Doctor Who restarted Doctor Who. That's the thing. I like Moffat, so I'll probably check that. Can I just make a comment to Jessica as well with that comment above about anything over 5 years is fair game? I would agree with that, apart from when it comes to someone whose entire or almost entire online presence is watching movies and reacting to movies they haven't seen that might be 30 or 40 years old. So yeah, like things that are...
She's talking about downloading them.
No. There was a comment where Jessica made, if a movie's over 5 years old, it's full game when we stopped talking about when we were talking about Godfather.
Yeah.
And like, I also don't know if that was related to the fair game. We'll ask Jessica's, but
yeah, feel
I
free
thought
to elaborate.
that was my comment about finding a copy of a movie from the 70s that, but
to clear.
It came up after when we stopped talking about Godfather.
Well, we'll see.
If we look at Parker in the book and we look at it, if you could do Keanu Reeves right as Jonathan Harker, you'd basically have Keanu Reeves in the one where not Constantine. I think that you could have a really good Jonathan Harker if you started him off as the devil's advocate and ended him as John Wick.
Oh, okay.
I think I think if you just
And Bill and
redid,
Ted. Bill and Ted's too silly at the beginning, but just a guy.
I'd be cool if Bill and Ted fight Dracula. That'd be sweet too.
I think if you had
Where-
Keanu
just
Reeves,
redo the Abbott and Costello Universal monster movies, but with Bill and Ted.
no, like if you had
I'm
Keanu
all in
Reeves
for that'd be fantastic.
back in '92,
Bill and Ted meet
as
Frankenstein.
good an actor
Yes.
as he is now, the movie would have been vastly, vastly better because he's just grown so much as an actor. He would have been able to do, the accent correctly. Like he would have put the time into it. So I don't know what their scheduling was like for this, whether he had even had enough time to have gone to a dialect coach and tried to do better than he did. But yeah, if you took him as an actor with his skill level now, put him back in '92, this movie would have been Oscar bait.
I know that Gary Oldman worked specifically with like a dialect coach for his role.
So did Keanu.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was the case, but again, he was very young and had just come off of like a completely different. I have no issue with him or Winona Ryder as actors in general. I just think they were not the right fit for that movie at that time.
It was a deep end for somebody that was not used to that.
But
absolutely.
Okay,
like,
so Solo,
Coppola could have made better casting choices.
What are some closing thoughts? Some wrapping up? Anything in particular you had that you wanted to speak to?
I think an interesting thing, we are going to talk about other reads, but I think something interesting to read if you were interested in the epistolary nature of Dracula is another book called Freedom and Necessity by Stephen Brist and Emma Bull, which is another epistolary novel. I think that's a great one. If you're interested in reading more Dracula, track down Fred Saberhagen's The Dracula Tapes, which is basically the same story as told from Dracula's perspective.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I'd be interested in that.
Different impression of things, and it's like, I didn't feed it a baby. It was a sheep. He was hallucinating for.
I don't know whether you guys have seen my post in the private club.
Go for it.
I did. Maybe I did. Who knows?
Basically, I was just thinking about discussing the differences between what Bram Stoker saw as a vampire versus what is generally accepted now. Like, you have
the rules of
Dracula,
vampireness.
Yeah. And why, like, but as I said, for me, Dracula or Bram Stoker, Dracula was the first vampire Dracula.
And it goes all the way down
why
to
he sings
garlic flowers versus garlic bulbs and food with garlic in it.
And the sunlight, like he's Dracula, quite happy wandering around
in the daytime. He's just not
in daytime. Why did that change, or when did that change, and how did that become accepted versus what the original?
Nosferatu is the reason why the film version of Nosferatu he's vulnerable to sunlight. As a matter of fact,
he literally.
It's a movie from the 1920s, Emily. I'm spoiling it.
It's all good.
He dies.
It's a 100-year-old movie.
I was making the bold assumption that he dies at the end. Okay.
But he dies at the end
from sunlight.
Sunlight. Sunlight as a purgative war creature.
It was a special effect for the 1920s.
Absolutely, but it also is tied into the
Fantastic
1930s Dracula as well. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Use of shadows in that is a lot of the same stuff that you saw in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
It directly
lifted from Nosferatu, the shadow in the background. The watch just the scenes with the shadows. It is just amazing stuff.
And the other thing I wanted to ask and raise, which Booyah and Solar are probably going to be better at or more able to answer. My understanding was always that Dracula was based on Vlad the Impaler. If you have vampire stories from before Bram Stoker, then I'm assuming Vlad the Impaler wasn't around in those times.
Camilla.
Why did those become, apart from, because as you say, in the book, we don't get anything about Dracula's origin.
Right. So
how
Bram
does that
Stoker
become-
didn't invent the vampire. It was a very long
We've had
set
nothing about that.
of various traditions across
Yeah.
Eastern Europe that he kind of took some of this and that from. And
Grigoi,
Bram
Woods.
Yeah,
not
and
David.
Bram Stoker didn't necessarily even use Vlad Tepes as a basis for the character of Dracula in the book. It's Dracula in the book. It's just a title, son of the dragon, that applied to numerous leaders from that region. So people have taken the history of Vlad Tepes as Vlad the Impaler and applied it retroactively to the Dracula in the
Yeah,
book.
that's what I was going to ask, was if that was the case,
came
It's a
first?
retroactive connection that
was
we've all
the
decided to make.
was the connection to Vlad the Impaler caused by the start of this movie, or did it happen before this movie and this movie just used that origin story?
Happened before
The
the
opening.
movie,
Yeah,
and it was tied in.
just a lot more explicit in the Francis Ford Coppola version.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a direct tie in Francis Ford Coppola that doesn't exist in the novel, as you know from reading it, doesn't exist even in the
30s
1930s
version.
film.
Yeah.
But it's always been because Vlad Tepes was Vlad Dracula, and basically the son of the dragon, the son of the devil.
It's
and
been in the
basically-
back of the cultural mindset for
The
Like,
zeitgeist,
Stoker
as
took
it
the name.
were.
Stoker took the name from Tepes. He did,
Okay.
but he didn't. It's not the same
But
necessarily.
Tepes wasn't the only person that had Dracula as a title.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
It
Are
was
we
a
certain?
specific knightly order title.
Are we certain though that there also wasn't a Dr. Acula?
Unfortunately. Well, there is. See, I know you're doing the Scrubs reference, but there was actually a movie made. It's a terrible
Yes.
movie. Never actually watch it. Called Dr. Dracula. It's bad. Don't watch it. But
Yeah,
you know,
that is
it
correct
exists.
too, Jessica.
Yeah. Very much so.
Which again goes back to what I was saying about me being a young, innocent, wide-eyed little Catholic boy back in '92 and not understanding the queer coding at the time.
As somebody else who was raised Catholic but slightly later, I was aware.
Vlad Dracula.
I have a question off topic sort of for Sola. Since you mentioned that there's a novel for this based on it from Dracula's point of view,
Yep. There's
there's
actually
a book there's a book I had as a kid which I haven't been able to find since I've lost it that you may know
Called
of.
the
And I'm just wondering,
Necronomicon.
no, it's called An Autobiography of God, and then you flip it around and upside down, and it's an autobiography of Satan. So you get to see.
Well, that's interesting.
And I haven't. It's a comedy
that's
book.
why
It's
physical media
it's almost like it
won't
was.
die.
It's almost like it was written by Douglas Adams.
Yeah.
But I've never been out. Like, I googled it, Amazon. Like, I can't find any reference to it anywhere, and I know I owned it. And I thought if anyone would know, it would be Solar. And him mentioning it from Dracula's point of view made me think just now about it. So,
is it
because I
God,
can't remember who the
Autobi-
author is.
Is it God, the Ultimate Autobiography, and Satan, the Hiss and Tell Memoirs by Jeremy Pascal?
No, it was
I hope
definitely
so.
called. It was definitely called An Autobiography of God, and then you flip it over and around like. So the front half of the book is God's, and then Satan's. I mean, it could be that.
So the second
Like,
half
it could
of the
be a
book is
different
lefty
name, but-
friendly.
Is what?
Lefty friendly.
No, you basically flip it over and read it.
Upside down, like flop, flop, flop.
So
But yeah, it was a great read, and I really want to read it again. I've been wanting to read it again for a couple of decades.
when
but
you find out what it is, please throw that in the
Yeah.
Discord because
It could-
we all
like, it
need
could be
to
that
know
way. If
what
you
that
can-
is so we can all read
if
it.
you can link that one in the Discord, Solar, I'll be able
Got
to
it
work
for
out
you.
whether it is.
It is the one I just listed. Actually, I have
Nice.
it's a flip over book. The front side it says God, the ultimate autobiography. Back side is Satan, the Hiss and Tell memoirs.
Backside.
Where did you?
Thank you.
where
Thank
did
you very
link
much.
it?
Do you want it in the private book chat or the
No,
public?
just throw it in the book
Public.
club
No,
chat of Discord.
Yeah, put it in the public book.
Jessica seems to be interested in it, so let's
Yeah.
share it for everyone.
I'll shoot you the link. There's the cover, and there is the
So,
front cover
do
and
we
the-
want to
Cool.
do a poll for the
Yes.
next book?
Yes, it's like
Quickly
speaking
before we do it, in case people didn't catch it, at one point, and we didn't even get to really talk about everybody's favorite vampire hunter, Van Helsing, but
God.
love
and
him
his
in the
fucking
book. Love him
monsters
so
that he
much.
talks about.
Love him in the
Let's
book.
talk about his monsters.
But at one point,
Bob?
he says that Dracula's motto must be "Festina lente." It means "hurry slowly" in Latin. In case anybody wanted to know what that meant.
Yes, that is the cover, and 1989 would be the correct time frame. So that will be the book.
I see
And I
you
will be
That was all
ordering
I
that
had.
in a little bit.
That was all I had on the current book.
I like it. Do a good job. Do a good job. Okay.
I just.
Yeah.
So we
he
wanna
has-
My
talk
apologies
next
for
book?
taking us all off track with a whole bunch of stuff from time to time.
That's what we
but
do. That's what we do.
We're good at
That's why we're all
chasing
here.
squirrels.
we know that's me, and also I needed to.
Listen, it's all
No,
good.
we are all enriched by knowing that book exists.
I know how to read Latin. That's my only skill. That's a good skill.
The fact that I can get it for you makes me happy. Not gonna lie, made me very happy to be able to find it for you. I know
Solo
that
Google skills plus Knight's exposure to that particular book equals enrichment for everyone.
Yes.
my Google foo is strong. It is one of the things that I pride myself on. Anyway,
You gotta get to those Bruce Lee levels of Google Foo.
I will also
Yeah,
I'm more of a Jackie Chan Google Fooer, just random objects in the room. I'll just
the people in the book club know what the next 3 recommendations are and what it is not going to be, because we've chosen not to go completely stereotypically Christmassy and do Hogfather. So I still recommend that you read it.
People,
simply.
so quickly, read Hogfather. Another book I recommend that I'm not going to throw into the poll is it recently came out on paperback, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry.
Which
the
you have now
tagline
read.
is high fantasy and low stakes. Emily, I'm sure this would be a very cozy, lovely read. You got to read it. It's fun.
I'm here for
It's
it.
an easy read. But
I'll
that's not
just say-
what I'm throwing in for the poll
Okay.
for next
Before,
month.
before we get to what you throw in for the poll, though, I'm going to make one more thing. I'm going to say again
Go for it.
simply that she has to either re-listen to or reread The Company of Wolves, which is, and I sent you a recording of it, I know.
Oh, you will have to
If
send
not-
it again. 'Cause-
Just ask Littlefoot.
Okay.
It is the Gothic retelling of Little Red Riding Hood with sex and werewolves and Christmas.
The trifecta of fun.
That's 2 out of 3 of my favorite things.
is that a Laurel K.
I want to
Hamilton
know
book?
which one's the.
It is
Come
not a
on,
werewolf.
you know.
It is
Oh,
also
it's Christmas,
a
Christmas
film
Beyond my-
version. There is a film version of it out that was done
Xmas.
by that took out the Christmas. I'm not gonna lie.
Quick note on Legends and Lattes too. The audiobook is done by the author himself. So,
Interesting. Okay. I got to tell you, I'm a little hesitant on that because Stephen King's done a couple of his, and that was
Stephen King
that was
is
bad. That was a bad move.
Travis Baldry does a good job.
Okay.
I
Does a
can
good job.
I can highly suggest not getting the audiobook of damn it, my joke's gone. Don't worry about it. I couldn't remember the name of it. I couldn't remember the name of Stephen Hawking's book.
Oh no.
Ow.
Oh no.
Oh. Company of Wolves, by the way, stars Angela Lansbury, and it's directed by Neil Jordan. Just so that you have it.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Brief
Was it
History of
written by
Time is
Laurel
what you were
K.
trying to
Hamilton,
think
though?
of.
No.
Right.
Yes.
Brief History of Time.
Brief History of Time.
My most pretentious book in my library is the Brief History of Time in French.
Yeah, I've got that with my chaos theory books and stuff.
Du Chronos, du temps.
Une histoire brève. Ton.
Parlez-vous français?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey,
Nailed it.
y'all foreigners!
Nope,
Hot
stop
dogs,
it.
hamburgers!
Don't.
So
That's because all sexy red riding hood, yes.
polls for next book chat. We're gonna put a poll together. My 3 that I'm throwing together, and I have them in front of me, so that you can see the covers and everything. First
You
one
have
is
not
called.
read any of these. Be honest about it. You have not read
I have
them.
not read any of them.
They're
They're all
all-
mine to be read. I haven't read any of
They're
them. So
all
you get to
TBR.
decide collectively what the next book I read
Le
is.
français, tout le temps.
That's cool though, Emily, because now it means we can not. Look, we
C'est
don't
vrai,
read it, and you
Drat.
still won't know any
Mais
different.
nous pouvons se parler. So, The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison is the first of my to-be-reads that I'm throwing into the poll.
Okay.
Mix of sci-fi, steampunk, and fantasy.
Okay.
I was intrigued, hence I have it.
I shall be back in a second. Sorry.
The next
A-
one is another sci-fi called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers,
Okay. Is that
which was, I believe, won the Hugo Award a couple of years ago.
okay?
So 4 to 5.
For
2.2.
best novel sci-fi fantasy. So, well, that's been on my to-be-read for a little bit, and throwing that one in there. And the next one was a finalist for the Hugo Award that did not win the Hugo, but it did win the Nebula Award, and won the Women's Prize for Fiction last year. Piranesi by Susanna Clark.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Anna Clark
So we've
is
got
the
the 3
writer
women authors in the sci-fi fantasy area that I'm highly intrigued to read them at any point, and this is as good an excuse as any.
I gotta tell you, that's
to
one of
get
my
that done.
favorite areas. Sci-fi fantasy.
Sci-fi fantasy? Yeah, well, good news. You got 3 choices in that same area.
About it.
That particular last one is the one that I am the most interested in. All 3 of them I'm interested in, but that last one is the one
I found
that
3 books that Sola hasn't read, everybody.
This is
3 books that I have not
3
read.
books that Sola
And
hasn't
that
read.
is the one that I have already had a dear friend of mine suggest outside of you. Another dear friend of mine suggested it, Piranesi. And she is sort of
I've seen a lot
my...
of recommendations about it. I really want to read it. I've had it on my shelf for quite a while. One of my shelves for quite a while. It's been on the to be read for about a year at this point, and I want to read it.
Okay.
So,
Did y'all do the poll? Do I need to do the poll? I don't know.
somebody-
It's not a live poll right this second. I thought we were just going to put this on your
yeah, so I can run through those again if anybody wants to.
let's
Or-
do a
Discord in the
poll.
book club.
Yeah, let's do that.
let's do a live poll.
A live poll. Oh my goodness. You people, you get to decide what we have to read. Pick well.
So for night to reiterate, that is
I have my headphones on
Oh,
while I went to
cool.
the bathroom. That's okay.
well. If you want to
That's
see
why
the
I'm
covers,
muted.
if you want to see the covers, we can.
They all sounded totally up my street. So
Is that
yeah,
is that like a satyr? What's
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Skater.
very cool.
And
Ow.
the one thing I know about Piranesi is where the name comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell them or?
No, you can do it.
It is named after an Italian. Let me double check. An 18th century Italian artist, Giovanni Battista Piranesi, and he created a series of prints entitled "Imaginary Prisons," which depict enormous subterranean vaults with stairs and mighty machines. And this is the inspiration for Piranesi, the novel.
He said about a book he hasn't read yet either.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh,
I know this because I've done my Wikipedia research. So, and apparently, yeah.
So, to answer Jessica's question,
Monkeys.
the Discord is the best way to kind of like keep an eye on what we're doing, when we're doing.
Nightbot just posted the Discord link. Thank you.
So that's the best way, especially because I don't know the date that we will be doing the next book club for. So we will definitely post that in the Discord. So
We target a month, but holidays are a thing.
yeah, it's kind of
Wait, Emily, you have to read Hogfather for December. It's just required.
okay.
And
We're not
between
gonna do
for
it
fun,
together.
Legends
All
and
right.
Lattes.
All right,
We're
book
not gonna
daddy.
test
All right,
you
book
on this.
daddy.
I'm not gonna test you on this. We
It's
have to
great though,
compete.
because
Adam's gonna feel so jealous that somebody else has a
I
daddy
know.
title.
He got a daddy title. But he's Space Daddy.
But
so.
yeah, but for those that want to have a nice little cozy, easy read that's light on the plot, that Legend and Lattes for side reading is a nice, easy one.
Okay.
For fun.
I've already got my books for next month sorted, but
Nice.
I only want to suggest one.
Go
I
for
want to
it.
make everyone read it.
Oh,
Nobody else
Because I
is throwing out
haven't. No.
titles?
Close though. Stormboy.
Storm Boy.
It's a 1976 Australian classic. It's also got a movie, and they made a 2019 remake, which I refuse to watch.
Will you drop
But-
those? I'm sorry. Will you put those books in the book club chat so that I can make the poll?
Yeah, I'm pulling up Storm Boy, the book as well.
got it open in front of me by Colin
Mm-hmm.
Eel. About a boy and his pelican.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it's the boy pelican, and for me as an Australian, the racial issues with him, like the friendliness with the Aboriginals, is a really interesting thing at the time. Like, it's gotten better, and
It's like the life of Pi
Wow.
without a tiger, and instead it has a pelican.
the movie is really great. I can highly recommend the 1976 version. But no, I have a couple of others as well, but yeah, that would be what I'm going
That's
to
good to
pimp
know.
for the most part. But we got to get through JD's first, which will be around Christmas time.
Or
At
in
least
January. And then
theory.
we'll do yours in February, and then for mine.
No.
Time is
It's
Emily
good though,
did-
because
I mean, I figured I'd throw out the shout out to Legend and Lattes on the side of it, just like, hey, if you want to read a different book, that's fine too. We're just, it's just because so little happens in it, and it's such a it's like a cozy read. That's more like
that's
a
a
side
selling
thing.
point. So little happens in it.
It's not like
It is.
overwhelming.
I mean, I know
right?
that's not your preference, but other people prefer reading for the atmosphere, and that's fine. That's what I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just trying to say
No.
what kind of a book it is. So we're not doing it for the club. It's just
It exists.
if that's
and
what you
can put it
want,
in your
that's a
brain.
recommendation for you.
I think it's
I
interesting.
know for sure Emily would like it, but I also know for sure that Nightstorm would not like it. So
Well, since I'm going to need things for my for after my next surgery, and then the surgery after that, who knows? Maybe I will read it
if you want to,
Where did
That's-
you
and then
post-
prove you wrong. I'm
it's
going to read.
It's a great feel-good, cozy book.
I'm going to spite read it.
Okay.
Spy.
Where are we?
Is that before or after you finish Small Gods?
Ooh, burn. Okay, all right. I want to make the poll,
Okay.
but I need the words to put in the poll.
Do you need
Okay,
me
I'm gonna
to-
type the words into I posted all three into
I
the private
can't
book
find them. Like
club
I
chat.
probably just
Can't see them
looking
either.
past them.
Actually, you did it. He did it earlier. I will get to you right now.
At
Just put it again,
7:17. Yeah.
and I'll put it into the book club chat. We'll do a live. Do you want it?
7:17
You want it on
my time.
Twitch or do you want it on book club chat?
I mean, you can
Exactly,
put it in
Matt.
Twitch, too.
Spite reading. I'll read that and show JD he's wrong. I'll enjoy it. God damn it!
I will happily admit.
You can't tell me
you
I'm
will
not
have
going to like
defeated me.
something.
You will have defeated me, and I will
I've got the whole thing up.
smile in shame. Oh no, Nightstorm enjoyed a
Violent
book I
shame.
liked. Oh no.
Don't you brag, don't you boast.
Oh my god.
One.
So
How long
how's
do you want
everybody
the poll
doing?
up for?
What?
How long do you want the poll up for?
Oh,
I'm putting it up right now,
10
live.
minutes?
About tree fitty.
a tree fitting.
So,
Let
2
lock
minutes,
this monster vote.
11.
5 minutes to decide this. 2 hours.
5
72
minutes to
hours.
decide how long we keep the poll up.
Can we do it 2 minutes? Just 2?
2 minutes is
Yeah,
done.
the first thing she
Ready to
said.
go.
I think 2 hours is too much. I gotta tell you.
We're all just gonna
72
sit here
hours?
waiting.
That's
You
also
know, everyone
too
in the
much.
chat had voted within a minute.
Oh, angry. So
Loch Ness
here's
Monster. Hmm.
I have, because of the incredible
Small
length of
scope
the
book,
long
yes.
way to a small angry planet, it's just going to be long way, or LW to SAP.
You can just call it Small Angry Planet.
Okay, small angry planet.
I hate
There we
that
go.
it gives
Small
you
Angry
such
Planet,
a
big old title.
minuscule amount of space to put the options for in those polls.
The options are up for those of you that are out there. Please do.
Vote for a
Cast
book
your
that
vote.
you feel like making
Mr.
us
Tia
read.
time. Tia Time. Tia Time is right there. Chemdog is right there. We are feeling it.
I'm not going
I'm
to
not gonna
vote
vote,
because
yeah.
I like all of them. Like, I like the sound of all of them.
Actually, Grot, I'm not gonna lie. If you're tempted to make Hogfather your December movie pick, I think we should just have like we should basically just assume that Emily will read. It's at the top. It's currently live. I can see it. It should appear at the top of your chat, and I see people are voting on it right now.
I mean, Littlefoot, if you want to just tell us what your vote is, one of us can just enter it too. We just
It's
give your vote to something else.
it's right at the top, says what are we reading next, and you've got to drop down you've got to click on the arrow that's pointing down to show the poll, Littlefoot. Unless you're on mobile and not on your PC, in which case I don't know. Maybe it
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't know
appear
if you
properly
have
on
access to polls
mobile.
on mobile.
Well
Okay.
done.
It looks like we have, of the people here, 67% are thus far voting for
Ooh,
Nessie. So
I think it's the shortest book, so we got that going too.
Okay. Well, then now I'll have plenty of time to read The Hogfather.
you will. I will actually
Hogfather
also
is a
say,
short enough read.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean,
It
it's
is
Terry
also-
Pratchett. You know what you're
Fair
getting
enough,
into now.
Fair enough.
I'm also going to say about Hogfather that I use, and I'll tell Abulia this. I use the Rising Ape, Falling Angel speech as part of my Why Storytelling is Important lecture that I do
Yeah.
in week 8 of my class, because that is important.
A month or so ago, Madame and I had that first talk of like, what are we gonna do as far as Santa and all that fun stuff for Baby Booyah, and I just pulled out Hogfather to illustrate my
We do this.
side of that particular discussion.
So you're basically going to put out bacon?
Obviously,
There we
So
go.
Perenesi won.
Ternesky.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay.
Susanna Clark, the author of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Oh,
This is the second read.
I read
Yeah,
that.
that's why I said it earlier.
That's so I missed that completely. I'm sorry. That's so funny that this is the shortest of the 3 books, and that book is so damn long.
Well, I get the feeling that she spent so long writing Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, she was like,
I can't do that again.
fuck it, it's short this time.
nah.
She does suffer from chronic fatigue, so
I mean, girl, same.
Yeah, less than 250 pages.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not as in like I will read that in a night. That's
yeah.
not.
I mean, that's a half of a Brando
Watermelon-
Sando novella.
I don't want to talk about that. I took between the YouTube live and this live, I took 4 ibuprofen, and my head and jaw are still
How much
slightly-
insulin?
slightly hurting.
I'm not a huge fan of sour stuff, but I actually wouldn't want to try that watermelon. It's the only one of the ones I would willingly want to try.
Nope. The maple
At
one is
least
really.
it-
But which ones would you unwillingly want to try?
it's not the
Well, the maple syrup.
soda.
You don't want to try the maple?
No, I'd definitely try the maple syrup.
Maple.
Oh,
Canadian
you're
maple
making
syrup
fun
soda,
of me.
Which is going to be sweet, insanely sweet.
It was good.
I want to try Lester's
heard that.
bacon
Have
one.
you had maple seltzer?
That'd be too watery, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's
Questions.
seltzer, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
I missed
what,
it too, Grant Littlefoot. I missed it too. I saw it. I caught it at
It's
the
hard to have
tail
seltzer
end.
that's not watery.
YouTube Live is not doing live stuff well.
Yeah, they've been shitty about that, but I think they've recently gotten worse somehow. Because why not? That's the only thing keeping me alive. I feel that in my bones, my achy bones.
I started this with the beginning of a migraine, and I have been holding it off successfully by sheer rage.
Sheer rage, out of spite.
Sheer rage.
I say, sickness be gone.
Well, y'all do
We're
say.
just gonna keep talking about books now for the next 6 hours, otherwise my head will implode, and that will be sad.
Well, we can do that offline.
Yeah. You guys.
Emily needs to pass.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a. Nope.
You got a doozy of a day?
I've had a doozy of a day. Y'all, Rage feeling Red Bull. The Holy Trinity. You guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for contributing to the discussion. Thank you for adding new insights. As always,
Thank you about thinking Dracula and Jonathan Harker having sex.
you know what? It's the greatest thing I could have asked for out of this conversation, honestly.
Especially when you think of Dracula as son of the dragon. That's a whole other level.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you all, and sorry for me being scatterbrained and not as
Do you
energetic as usual, but
do you know who you're
happens.
talking to? I mean, I'm the queen of scatterbrained, so like, it was cute that you thought that you were on my level, but whatever.
You merely adopted the scatterbrain.
I was born
They're the princess of Scatterbrain. You're the queen. Is what it is.
y'all, thank you.
hang on, what does Matt dream of every night?
Of probably
I'm assuming Dracula and
being
Harker.
Dracula being
son of
Being
the
a-
dragon. Yeah.
I mean,
Dracula being a top.
I don't know. I like
For
to flip
Jonathan
the
Harker,
script a
yeah.
little bit. You know, I like Jonathan to take charge. Okay.
It's
Anyways,
actually interesting because intertextually,
Jonathan Harker or John Wick?
yes.
he technically is
Why must it be an or?
very toppy. Just say that.
Yup. All right, y'all. Y'all take care. Thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure to stay hydrated. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And we will see you next time with another book club.